Okay, so before I get started with all this, I wanted a few housekeeping things. First of all, this is my channel. So I'm going to be talking about my experiences from my perspective, how I see things, what has worked for me. So this is not going to be everybody's. It's not a definitive guide. It's not a, you have to do it this way. This is from me. So you can take that as you will. Also, even though what I'm going through today can be applied to other deity, connecting with other deity, and deity work, I'm going to heavily be speaking about the Morrigan in this. She is my primary deity. She is who I am dedicated to and who I went through all this work with, and helped me to develop my own foundations. I am a writer, so I have written all this down first, and so I'll just be reading what I wrote. The Morrigan is a complex goddess. The deeper you travel into her, the more is revealed within yourself. First, we need to explore what deity is. I feel the concept of gods have become muddied due to Christian views. So we need to have an honest look at how we personally view deity. Why? And challenge those views to see if they hold true for our experiences with them. I have worked with deity for years, and so what follows are my understandings and experience. We are all patterns of energy, all connected through tethers of energy like a web. Our tethers are built through the bonds we build, some stronger, some weaker. Certain patterns become god-goddess patterns. To understand this, you must first understand spiritualism before religion. It was based on two main concepts. The first being everything has its own energy pattern. The wind, the trees, the land, the animals, everything in matter, everything that exists. The second is they honored those who came before them, ancestors and leaders, those who were important to them. Over time, through honoring and worship, some of these patterns grew into what we see as deity or God patterns. By holding that pattern as sacred, passing its stories and practices of honoring down generation after generation, we feed that energy pattern. We feed it shape, emotion, memory, love, devotion. We feed it energy and it grows. Through time, we see them as gods and goddesses, as deity. These deity patterns become guides for the lessons and domains they started out with, and those given over time through stories, mythology, and connection. The bonds that have been built by building bonds to these patterns, we gain access to that which they are bonded to. By connecting to them and listening, they can guide us through those bonds and lessons that they contain. Revealing knowledge, understanding, in order to further our own personal growth. Working with deity means working with a guide. It's a partnership. There is give and take. They set tasks and trials before us, yet the outcome is our own personal growth and transformation. We give them our time, our gratitude, our voice, always in exchange with mutual benefit, mutual respect. Some deity come in for a lesson we need. Some may walk the whole path with you. Each has a specific feel to them, a unique energy. Over time, you will be able to feel and distinguish the differences. Deity connected to the same or similar bonds, such as dark goddesses as a whole, may be confusing at first. Their bonds and lessons can be hard to filter. Each is their own pattern, their own authority. They each have their own ways, but they are each connected to the same types of other patterns. Shapeshifters can even be more tricky because they use this ability to get us to go down roads, lessons, that we might not otherwise have gone. Do not feel bad if you misinterpret or mistake who you like is guarding you. Did you learn something from them? Did you understand once they fully revealed themselves? Can you see the subtle and distinct differences now? These are the questions that actually matter. I do not think Deity get offended by this. That is a human view. I think they understand that learning, experiencing, is part of growth, and if we do not experience these things for ourselves, we will not truly understand them. We are not perfect and should never strive to be. Instead, strive to always be learning, experimenting, evolving. After all, that is what our gods and guides push us to do. Take some time to reflect on all of this. Turn inward. How do you see Deity? Why would we connect to them? What can we gain through this relationship? Now that we have looked at what Deity is, let's look at ways to connect and build our bond. First, let me premise this by saying, gods do not belong to any religion. Religions align themselves with gods. This is a deep concept and requires a change in perspective to fully grasp. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different paths based on our experiences. Those experiences have shaped our current perspectives. We all have different lessons that we need in order to grow, to transform, to evolve. Our paths may be similar at times. They may even reflect each other in ways. In the end, though, they are unique to our needs and the path, the spirituality we are creating for ourselves. We can learn and be inspired by each other when we share our stories, our experiences, and our mistakes. I am not perfect. You are not perfect. But together, we can help each other grow. What is here comes from my own experimentation, also the experimentation of those I have mentored. Some things will work for you, some will not. In order to discover that, you will have to experiment yourself. Some of the key elements to building bonds. Celebrate. We celebrate by first learning. We must learn about that which we want to bond to. Through learning, we gain understanding. There are many forms of learning, and it is a constant process. My understanding of the Morrigan is deeper than it was before, yet will always become more the further we walk together. Through this process of learning, we are building our bond, our tether, to the Morrigan. Not all of what we learn will be true. Some may be misinterpreted information. Some may come from sources wishing to control others. Read their lore, but understand lore is not doctrine. They are stories passed down. There is truth in stories, but that does not make the story true. Look at the history of the people, the culture, how they move and blend over time. Look at our modern society. How have traditions and concepts of these deity evolved, and how do they fit in our modern lives? Make room for this bond in your daily life. We'll cover specific examples of this soon. The next element of bond building. After we have formed our bond through celebration, we must then strengthen it, honoring it in our lives, allowing it to help us question our previously held beliefs, principles, and morals. Through this growth and understanding, do they still serve us? Do some need to be altered or tweaked? Do some not serve us anymore at all and need to be cleared? Do any need to be added? Strengthening requires shining a light upon ourselves, while our deity walks with us and guides us through the process. The next step, trust. To further and deepen the bond, we must trust in what we built. We must embrace the blessings it gives us and understand the curses or challenges it brings forth. Trust is built, not given. We learn to trust through our own experiences. Trust comes from belief. Belief forms faith. Lastly is gratitude, felt in the heart and mind daily, shown in action and breath. The key to gratitude comes from a change in perspective. When we focus on what we have, not what we lack, even in our darkest moments. Even at the bottom, we still possess things to be grateful for, even if it is just the breath we breathe within ourselves. For as long as we are still breathing, there is hope for climbing out. Gratitude does not mean calm and easy. When we are able to truly feel the power of gratitude, even when our lives are crumbling, we know the bond we have built is complete. Not an ending, but fully joined and flowing back and forth. Through gratitude, we show our bond, respect, and partnership. Now that we have covered the process of how a bond is built, let us look at the practical steps and actions to do this. Some of the simpler actions: lighting a candle. Light a candle to welcome them into your space. As you do so, say something to your deity, such as, "I welcome you, Morrigan, to be in this space with me." Then sit for a bit, watching the flame and thinking about her. This is us starting that connection process. A morning beverage. Most people will have coffee or tea or orange juice or something to drink in the morning. This can be anything. I personally prefer tea or hot cocoa. This can also be combined with a candle, if you want. When making your beverage, stir clockwise while saying an invitation to them. Something like, "Goddess Morrigan, I welcome your energy into my day." As you sit and drink, take your time to savor the taste and envision the Morrigan in form or feeling. Give her space and time to come to you. Setting a space. Whether it be an altar or a shrine. Altar is more of a working type space. A shrine is more of a honoring type space. Mine is both. I combine the two. This should be in a place you spend a lot of your time in. It is your visual reminder of her. This can be as simple or elaborate as you want. It can be a picture on the wall or a fully covered table or shelf. If you have children or animals, shelving, wall shelving, it's a great thing. It can be just a special candle, just for them, or an object that you feel connects to them. This is your space. There is no right or wrong, as long as you feel the connection to the deity. Offerings. Again, this can be a multitude of things. Personally, I find a candle and sometimes a bowl of water in her space to be powerful. Devoting time, learning about her, journaling about her, dedicating a workout to her, dedicating a community service to her, sharing with others your experience with her, feeding birds. The list is endless, as long as she is your focus behind the action and it furthers your personal growth. This can be done daily or weekly. Consistency is the key. For the Morrigan specifically, she has been really adamant about the new moon and holding the new moon sacred for her. Keep the new moon sacred for the Morrigan. The new moon represents the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another. It is a moment of transformation. Develop your own ritual for that day. For example, my current ritual includes putting out fish for our vultures and ravens, lighting her candle, and a special family dinner, then trance work and a prayer. This is also a good time to set goals for this moon cycle that are both for you, your physical self, and your spiritual path with her. Journaling. Document your journey. You can document this journey in any way that works for you. Obviously, I'm old school and enjoy writing on paper. The mode doesn't matter. It's the documenting that's important. By doing this, you can see your progress. You can go back and objectively evaluate feelings and experiences when you are not in the middle of them. Sometimes we receive or come across information that we don't fully understand now, but will later make sense or take on a new meaning with new information. Document your dreams. Main points of learning that resonated with you. Experiences, signs, divination, and so forth. This is for you. It's not for anyone else. It's not something that you have to share. So be honest. And when you don't know, you don't know. Listen to others' experiences. Listen to a variety of personal perspectives and experiences of these deity. Do not expect yours to be the same or for all of them to be true. This is just about seeing how the Morrigan is so versatile, how she comes differently based on a person's need. Some may inspire you to experiment with new ideas and concepts. You are not required to agree with others, not even me. You are only required to be respectful, even if their words are not your experience. If someone is telling you that their way is the true way or only way, I would advise that you walk away. If they create an environment where people are nervous to share, again, walk away. It's not a conducive space for your growth. Guides should never tell you what to think or how to practice. That is only up to you. If you are being honest with yourself, have true experience, and honoring that with personal growth, you are doing exactly what you need to do for your path. Divine connection is personal. Sharing allows for growth, theorizing, and new ideas to consider. Trance and meditation. These methods can be used for building connections as well as communication. Many people express difficulty with meditation. We should start here in order to see meditation with a new perspective. The problem often lays with the concept of clearing the mind. The harder the focus on getting to a blank mind, the worse their experience. Instead of clearing the mind, think of it as freeing the mind, if you have this problem. This technique is about letting the mind run through all its thoughts, but not focusing or trying to hold on to them. Just like regular thought of meditation, this will take practice. We are all wired to hone in and try to hold on to thoughts that are interesting to us. Sometimes your mind will go blank towards the end of the process, but it's not the goal, so don't force it. Give each session about 30 minutes. Remember to be in a comfortable space. People who are musically inclined find having background noise or music helpful. If this is you, I would suggest something soft and rhythmic. The big key is no words. Words will distract you and start distracting the brain. There are still people who will have trouble with this, and why trance work may be more effective. Trance work, just starting out, is training the body and mind, conscious mind, to become distracted in order for the soul and the subconscious to be at the forefront. By doing this, it induces a state to get messages from divine. With practice, you can have full communication in this state. There are many methods that can help you achieve this. Below was how I started and what others have also had success with. First, you will need some type of string. Hemp string works well. Tie 99 knots in the string. The number is important to give your mind the time it needs. Later, I created a counter with beads. The knots or beads are just a physical counter and give the body a physical task to occupy it. These knots have no association to knot magic. You are not tying them with intention. Next, you need a mantra to say. Something simple and that will flow helps. The first few times you will read your mantra as you go. After that, it should be memorized by your practice. Your mantra should also contain what you are trying to connect to and direction of what you want. This is one of the mantras I started with and I share often with others. Goddess Morrigan, Lady of Nine Faces, Guardian of the Gates, allow me to walk in your energy. When my road is dark and when it is light, when it is twisted and when it is straight, to walk with you means to have faith. It is important to speak your mantra out loud. The words and tone of your voice create vibration. With practice, you will start to feel yourself floating out of your body while still having full control of it in vague awareness. Keep records afterwards of what you see, feel, and experience during your sessions. It also helps, at least me, to close your eyes once your mantra is memorized. There are many ways to connect to and build a working relationship and partnership with the Morrigan, other deity, or entities. These are just the ones I personally have used successfully and others I mentor have used with great success. It is time for you to start experimenting to see what works for you. Do not be afraid to alter things. Make them your own with your own flair. You are developing your own path. Communicating with Deity. Communication with Deity, especially in the beginning, can be difficult. First, we have to open ourselves up to it. Then we have to use all of our senses when we listen for it. I felt the Morrigan before I ever heard her. A distinct presence with a unique energy feel. I'll go through various forms of communication techniques as well as modes I have experienced her. Dreams. Many people experience Deity in dreams first. I personally have criteria with dreams. They have to be either a lucid dream of a very vivid unusual dream. What I mean by this is one where the colors are very vivid, almost alive, and generally other senses are heightened, where you can smell, even taste. The reason I have this criteria for myself is for a check. Checks are used to keep us honest in our experience, to help us separate our imagination from our actual experience. Checks keep me grounded in my work. With all our science, we still do not really understand the nature of dreams. There are many theories to research if you are interested. Many people talk about nightmares when they first see the Morrigan in dreams. I personally never experienced this. I think a lot of that has to do with the Morrigan will come to you as you approach her. If you see her as a dark, scary, bloodthirsty goddess, then I think that is how she will be coming to you. I will get into that more when I talk directly about the Morrigan, but for now, just keep that thought in your head. The Morrigan is a shapeshifter. This means you will or may experience her in a variety of forms. This is confusing until you are able to recognize the feel of her energy. When dealing with dreams, the best starting place is to write them as soon as you wake up. Take note of any details, especially any sensory information beyond sight. Write any emotions you felt in their context. Once you are down, walk away and go about your morning routine. By allowing our focus to shift, sometimes we get more information or remember more. Review and reflect on your journal at least once a week. On a side note, I say journal, but some of the best journals just starting out are the 99-cent composition books. Later you can transfer important information to a fancy one if you want. But you are going to go through so much transformation in the beginning, I wouldn't waste my money on fancy. You do you though. Some people will also record it by voice. However is best for you. Research any animals that may show up in the dreams, both science and spiritually. There may be clues there. You can research symbolism and other opinions, but in the end, your intuition is the greatest tool. The dream is meant for you and your perspective. Give it time and reflection. If a deity appears, try to note everything they say, even if it doesn't make sense. It may later. Another technique you can use to induce this is to set an alarm 3 to 4 hours before your normal wake time. Just shut off the alarm when it goes off and go back to sleep. By doing this, you are pulling your brain into a state between sleep and awake. In this space, I have had many revelations and understandings. It may take some time, but something to definitely try, especially if you have trouble remembering your dreams. Tarot. Divination can be a great way to strengthen your intuition as well as direct communication. The more you use a certain tool for specific communication, the more powerful it becomes for that. Out of all the divination tools, I find tarot to be the most diverse in meanings and a solid external check. I personally found great success using the Dreams of Gaia deck with the Morrigan. It is more elemental based and the depth of the artwork is amazing. I highly recommend it for this work. This is how I approach tarot. After I bought my deck, I spent a little time just looking at the cards and shuffling. I started by using pre-made spreads. I shuffle until a card stood out to me or fell out for each position of the spread. So I would shuffle, get a card, shuffle, get a card for each position. I would write the spread in each card in a journal. Then using the guidebook, I would look up each one and write down what stood out to me. And I would look at the card and the artwork and what stood out to me. Date your journal entries so it's easier to evaluate and reflect on them later as your skill grows. After a while, cards will start to take on a specific meaning for you. You can branch out, making your own spreads or use them for direct conversation and questions. Ask a question, draw a card. Draw more if you need clarification or more information. In time, you will not need your book. In time, you can look at your spread and see the full story without even thinking about it. In time, you will hear her words as you read. You are not just using a tool, you are connecting to and honing your own intuition. I currently use the Dreams of Gaia deck to tell me the story or message, and the Seasons of the Witch Yule deck for the actions to take with the Morrigan. Really like using those two combinations, one for the story, one for the information, and then I like an action deck that gives you specific action. Feeling deity. This is more complicated and more subjective. In my experience, each one has their own feel to them. At first, it may just feel like a presence in the room. Later, you may physically feel them, like a hand on the shoulder. If you take the route of dedication and oracle work, it will become much more. But I'm not going to go into that here. We're still at the beginning. The more you feel them, build a bond with them, those feelings will become deeper, more pronounced, and easier to recognize. Hearing deity. This is another complicated one that gets easier with time. Over time, you will be able to have the confidence that what you are hearing is not coming from you. The Morrigan's voice is very different than my own inner voice. It is very precise and to the point, where mine likes to be more debated. After years with her, it's not even a question anymore because I've gotten used to it. I will say, though, it is never just her voice. I always feel her presence heavily when she does speak to me. This does not mean I hear her all the time. I usually hear her in the context of passing messages to others, or when I am not seeing or paying attention to something that she wants me to. I do occasionally get supportive messages, but they are rare. It's important to have checks for this communication, especially in the beginning, because the mind is tricky. My confirmations have come when I deliver her messages to others. Many times they have said things such as, "I was just thinking about that," or "I've been struggling with that all day," and they are very grateful for the delivery. My other check I discovered in a refusal. I was almost asleep when I heard her tell me a message to deliver. I was exhausted, and so I tried to push it off till later. Her tone got harsher, and her presence felt very demanding. I knew ignoring wasn't going to help, so I got up, texted the person, told them the message was from the Morrigan, delivered it, and went to go back and lay down. Sleep would not happen. Apparently, this person had been struggling hard that evening. The message, which was simply, "You are not alone, I'm here," hit this person hard, but in a positive way. We ended up having to talk for quite a while. That experience left me in a state of awe for a long time. I also never hesitated again when she gave me a message to deliver. Sure, I was tired, but the other person was breaking. This wasn't about me. Until this moment, I have never shared that story except for with my husband. Just reflecting on it brings up all the emotions. Signs. I'm sure you've heard people talk about seeing signs. Signs get even sketchier than hearing your deity, in my opinion. There are so many things to consider. You will have to develop your own criteria for this and ways to reflect on them for evaluation. I will share mine though. For something to be a sign for me, it must elicit a deep emotion that wasn't there before. I have come to trust my intuition because I have years of practice and validation of it. When it hits this deep emotion, I pay close attention. There are times where I still need to research things and do deep reflection to understand the full meaning. These are healthy practices, no matter how new or how seasoned you are. Research. This is a big topic. I know we have touched on the topic throughout, but it is one I cannot stress enough. Learning is the beginning of any growth process. There is good and bad information out there. What may be a good source for one person may be a bad source for another. When talking about deity, spirituality, personal practice, there is a lot of conflicting information. That is because everyone is viewing it through their own experience, their own perspectives, their own understandings. Most people spend their lives searching for truth. My experience is there is no truth, in quotations, just accepted or group truth. Even in science, there is a lot of theory. Theory people claim as truth, treat as truth. But when the word theory is in the name, that means it is still unproven. Can they still help us, guide us? Of course they can. But it also means that it is not written in stone or doctrine and should not be treated as such. It still leaves the door open of possibilities. Science has new discoveries all the time that rewrite previous truths. These are not ultimate, unbreakable truths. They are truth based upon the current level of knowledge. You do not know what you do not know. This is important as you develop your own path, your own connections, your own spirituality. This concept gets even more murky when it comes to lore. I see so many people hold up lore as historical truth. It isn't. They are stories which have truths within them in their own ways, whether that is physical truth or collective truth by that culture and those people. This does not make it any less valuable, but it also does not give us the authority to lord it over others when their experience is different. Most lore was passed down verbally for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of years before being written down. Each person adding their own artistic flair or their culture's point of view. It's why there are maybe several versions of the same story, but with different names or different views. Lore is important. It gives us a glimpse into the history of our deity. It helps us to understand the culture and traditions of the people who honored them and handed them down. It helps us to understand the people at that point, as well as their evolution over time. It helps us to see our deity through their eyes, or at least a glimpse. As lore evolves over generations, as people evolve over generations, so do our deity. Look to the past, look at lore, look at the history of the people, their movement, how their culture and traditions changed, and the things that influence that change. Then look at what it is today. How do modern worshipers practice? How do they honor them? How do they connect? All of this research helps you to build an understanding for you to work from. In the end, though, your personal experiences and connection should become the most important to you. That is what you built after learning and building understanding. Your relationship to deity is your own. This part was about starting that connection with deity, how to start building, how to start working that communication. I'm going to continue this series with different aspects, different information, sharing my experiences. So feel free to join in, subscribe if you want to keep updated on it. But that's where I'm going with this, at least this particular part of the channel. And I will be heavily talking about the Morrigan and probably also Kari. He's a Norse god of wind, voice, and vibration, and they are the two that I am mainly working with. I hope you found some value in this. I hope you found something that is going to help you along your path and to help you to connect to deity, to gods, to pantheons, to spirit energies, land energies, elementals. These practices can be used for all of that. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all soon.